So I've stopped and started this video now about 3 times, and I'm going to give it my last shot here at registering a kind of comment on this, the unending discussion between the fundamentalist religious types and the atheistic sort of scientific types here on YouTube. I think there is much that seems so right-minded on both groups, at least for the people who represent it well. When you find the people who really give clear and articulate reasons why they're theists, why they believe in some kind of God, and why some people really don't, why some people find all of that perhaps suspicious and a kind of troublemaking, I think there are really good reasons on both sides. So maybe one question would be, why theism? It's pretty apparent that there have been many different kinds of religion on this planet. And religiosity, spirituality is ancient. It is very, very ancient. Animism, spirituality, pantheism, polytheism, these reigned for tens of thousands. I just watched the PBS thing, maybe 500,000 years. It could be that people have recognized the dance, the unending heavenly dance of the sun and the moon, and how that related to all of the other things around us, and what that meant. Clearly, in the Middle East, monotheism hit. It emerged and became a dominant reigning force, and it is a political force. And, the Catholic Church, one of the largest and wealthiest landowners in the world, the kinds of political oppression and sexual oppression that's practiced by many religions is questionable at the least and unacceptable for many people, and that's understandable. I think the concern that some people have with atheism, perhaps for good or ill, some people think they're going to be bereft of ethics. I don't know if that's the case, but I think there is this larger question of meaning. There seems to be, for some people I think, a very suspicious literalism in contemporary modern atheism. There's something about an animal who has talked itself into a tragic life story, not realizing that it itself is a mythical being and needs mythical meanings. I think there is something about, try to imagine just for a second what it must have been like to have lived 10,000 years ago and to just know unmistakably, to feel the wrath and the power all around you, to just know unmistakably that somehow there are larger forces than yourself. I think we've been so successful in our technological dominance over the world that it's easy to stand at a kind of relation where we see ourselves as capable of making truth. I mean, I think Descartes' problem, right, as many people know, right, Descartes thought he knew things, and then he said, I have these clear and distinct ideas, but how can I have clear and distinct ideas? Well, he said it's only God who could give him this sort of clear and distinct idea. I think today people don't feel that they need that. I think they don't need to stand on that. This was all ushered in by the Copernican revolution. And when you think about that, it's really important to see it as the two moves, right? Alan Wheelis brings this up really well. His book, End of the Modern Age, he says, when Copernicus suddenly discovered the sun was the center, not only did it trivialize the geocentric view, which had put humans at the center of the cosmos for all of time and suddenly made them feel like they were in orbit around rather than the very center of it all, but it simultaneously sort of patted them on the back for having the ability to discover that. And it elevated the arrogance of the knowing human, while simultaneously impoverished the cosmological relevance of the way we fit into the larger world. I mean, to try to imagine one's life in primitive society sounds horrible compared to modern convenience, modern medicine, but in other ways it seems utterly relevant and important. Now, right? I mean, imagine, trying to do the rain dance where you think that, rites of spring, these sort of ancient rituals that participated in the coming and going of the seasons. To imagine that one is actually participating in these kinds of large-scale events seems so different than to participate in the local basketball game or the local football game, but that's what it's dribbled down into. See, the question of what are the inner relations to the cosmos, the ultimate cosmos, and cosmos, right? Sort of this oneness of the universe. If we want to imagine that the universe has a unity, to what extent is modern scientific individualist atheism, which unfortunately is being co-opted by consumer capitalism, to what extent does this make possible a genuine relevance that was known in the ancient religions? To really feel oneself as ultimately mattering, to secure meaning within a horizon beyond petty, trivial accumulationism, beyond petty being the richest guy around, having the most conveniences. Now, again, there's hardship and lots of horror practiced in ancient religious practices, right? I mean, I think we want to admit that, and we want to see, I think, that many of the religions today, with their various forms of dogma, they now reign over people, and there is a concern of some people today, by way of belief in the afterlife, they will commit horrors. You have everything from the suicide bombers to the religious wars, all of which gets sanctioned and promoted. It gives a relevance to people's lives. I think that's what they're trying to recover. But that's very dangerous, and that's very selfish. I mean, who do people think they are, that they can go and bring horror upon others for their own relevance and for their own sense of importance and making a difference in their lives? It seems pretty selfish. It seems very diluted. The religious mind can be, to watch these religious terrorists, they seem to have no care, no concern, no worry over the suffering they are bringing to those people who don't share their religious beliefs. Now, I do think there is something about at least the metaphor or the myth of Jesus. The image of the Christ figure is a person who does nothing wrong, who is put to death, and the whole time joyfully accepts it and somehow is a passive, non-retaliatory action. But Jesus doesn't get the annex on that. Give me a break. Right? There's tons of people alive and around today, and if you're going to go the Jesus thing, well, then it's kind of BS, because Jesus, either he knew he was God and then big deal, or he didn't know he was God, he was a crackpot. See, there's something suspicious about making Jesus the only story you're going to go with. Why not go with Gandhi? Why not go with Epictetus? Why not go with Mother Teresa, or I don't know, some other person? I mean, I think there's tons of people who have realized the balance for the need for meaning and the need for ultimate relevance, the need that self-relation somehow becomes cosmically configured and relevant to the cosmos, while minimizing the damage and the horror that they bring to others. I think this is those two strands that I think a reasonable person who is either religious or is an atheist can see, that we are all dying. We're dying together. And as we're dying together, the question is, how do we respond to that? Can we learn to love each other in an ongoing mystery and get out of materialistic, consumeristic haggling with one another, private property and the such? Can we honestly ask, what are we doing on this crazy planet? Are we just meant to wheel and deal with this chaotic frenzy, killing each other? What is the meaning of life? Thanks.